Hello, my friends. How you doing? It's your buddy Phil here, project management training coach. I thought I'd have a very quick session with you based on a question asked by one of our students about ADHD and the PMP exam. I have taught a number of students with ADHD and other concentration issues. And the first thing I ask them is to get medical proof of their condition. And if that exists, I asked them to share that with the PMI because consideration is made for people with conditions such as that. And you could actually be a candidate to receive more time and a different configuration of the exam. So if that is you, I would recommend going through a test. First of all, I will put a link somewhere below where you can test yourself and see if that is something you should be concerned about. And if it is, I would advise that you go for additional medical confirmation, professional medical confirmation, and that could help with giving you more time on the exam, okay? So I want to share a few of these ideas with you very quickly here. Let me just bring up a whiteboard so that we can kick around some ideas about what you could do to cope on the exam, cope better on the exam. So the first thing I would recommend is to plan for a longer study time. So you want to plan to spend longer time for studying. Okay? You got to build that extra time in because what may take your colleagues a lot quicker, you may find yourself spending a lot more time. Now, for me, while I have not been diagnosed with that, I spend a long time reading stuff that other people will read in seconds. I find myself having to spend more and more time on it. So just be aware that more time for studying for folks who have been diagnosed with that is normal, okay? So longer study time. Secondly, I would also say along those lines of studying, you might want to find a place that is quiet and does not have distractions when you are studying to get more mileage out of what you're actually doing. Okay, so whatever distractions are around you in a particular space, you need to get rid of that by doing exactly that. Find a quieter place. And I know it's not everyone that has these difficulties in noisy places that gets them distracted, but if that is you and you know that where you're studying is contributing to your lack of focus, I would advise that you find a quieter place to study. The next thing is you want to have a routine. So once you get into the swing of it, you get into the routine of it, the strangeness of it goes away. You get used to it. I would also recommend taking breaks as needed. You need more breaks than most people do in some instances. Go ahead and take that break. Take frequent breaks. So when it comes to a routine, definitely have a routine. Okay? Routine, get into the swing of it, and also breaks, frequent breaks. All of these are coping mechanisms, and that's why some people who have gone to the PMI with their diagnosis and said, hey, I need more time, the PMI has given those people many more hours compared to the typical person that does not have this challenge, okay? Next thing I would say is make sure you put enough buffer time. Buffer time. Because it's one thing to spend more time studying, but you also need to plan in that buffer time to study. Planning in buffer time is another coping mechanism as you study. I would also say, instead of struggling all on your own, use mentoring. Use mentoring, use coaching. Mentoring and coaching help move you through the process. So you're not just doing it on your own, but you have assistance and help from someone who is seeing you through every step of the way. I would highly advise using a mentor or coach to move you through. Some of us are very color codish oriented, color coding helps us. And for folks with ADHD, color coding, maybe something you want to do. Color code, ITTOs, processes, process groups, use that when you can. I've actually highlighted this a lot on the channel. A lot of my students, I actually bring them on and they show their color coded books. So color coding, use that when you can. You may also want to use your own notes. Okay, use your own notes. Like when you read the PMBOK guide and it comes up with a definition that is a little bit ambiguous, you may need to do a little bit more work to condense it, break it down, but then make it your own, in your own handwriting, your own notes. That is something else I would recommend. As they say, practice makes perfect. You definitely want to spend more time doing this. The more you get into the rhythm of it, you become unmoved when you see these questions on the exam. Like someone asks you, what's your uncle's name? Because you've heard his name 1,000,001 times. You've met him, you've interacted with him, you've spoken to him. That is how I see the exam. By the time you get to the point where you've been through this so many times, the mantra and the dogma of the PMBOK guide, it becomes easier. And like I said, I've had a number of students, many students who have had this challenge, but they overcome it. It is absolutely overcomable, to use a word, huh? You can. You may also want to use high-level reviews, such as the reviews that I have for the PMP Exam Power Review, the Rapid Review. I have many short reviews that give you an overview of the entire landscape of the PMI for the PMBOK, the PMP Exam, and the PMBOK Guide. I would say take advantage of those. Even before you start studying, do a high-level overview, quick high-level overview, so that you know what you're getting into, okay? Okay. Still along these lines, I would recommend a method called the SQ4R method. And I'm going to write it out here. You may have heard of this. And what this is survey. Okay. So you want to look over the main headings, survey that. The next step, you want to look at the questions that are asked at the end of those sections. Then you want to read the entire section. Then you want to write answers to the questions, and then you want to recite the information out loud. Like maybe walking around and speaking to yourself as you regurgitate the information, write it out on a board, and as it were, teach yourself, train yourself as though you're the teacher. Teach yourself every step of the way. So survey, scan over the stuff, right? Then go through those questions that are at the end of the chapter. So you kind of, as it were, are doing a post-mortem, asking, what are they really looking for? And then when you read the questions and you know how they're framed and phrased and you know what they're looking for from you in those chapters, you know, for example, the Project Management Essentials book by Praizion, at the end of every chapter, we have questions. I want you to look at those questions even before you begin reading, you see. So you're going to survey the main headings, then you're going to go over the questions, then you're going to read the entire chapter, then you're going to write, you know, write out answers to the questions, if you will, and then you're going to review your work. You know, the more you put pen to paper, the more you are more hands-on about it, the information sinks in better. For people who learn in this way, you may need a much more quiet place to go to, you know, to really go all out, to speak loud, to train yourself, to let it all sink in. All right. You also want to be, like I said, heavily involved, you know, in the tactical pieces of it. So reading, underlining, highlighting. I talk about highlighting the PMBOK guide a lot. Writing in margins. Um, conversation is also a good thing, and just getting absorbed in it. For me, you know, if I were you, suffering with something like that, struggling with something like that, you need a lot more tactile type learning, hands-on type interaction, okay? All right, and then, like I said, if it has been proven, that this is something you've been struggling with, like I said, don't forget to hit the PMI up immediately. Go to the PMI site, send support at pmi.org a message, and ask them, you know, about considerations for people who have this challenge, okay? Talking about organizationally, things that could distract you, make sure that your area is tidy, you know, your desks, your desk, wherever you're reading, wherever you're studying, just make sure everything is organized so that that will not distract you. As far as managing your time effectively, I would recommend that you use a Kanban board. I would use a Kanban board. I would organize my goals, what needs to be done, and I would just follow a schedule, you know, a deliberate, intentional schedule. That's what I would recommend. Do not procrastinate. Finish whatever is on your to-do list. Be as plan-driven as possible, you know, be as methodical as possible. Break down chapters. So if you got like chapter 7, cost, you got to break down cost into 4 processes, and you don't have to attack every single piece of cost on that day. And then when you get to control cost, you got to break that down into like 8 sections. What do I mean by that? Well, I would break each process into inputs, tools, and techniques to start with. So you're thinking, in, you know, here's a process, that's 1. Here's the input set, that's 2. Here's a tool and technique set, that's 3. Here's the output set, that's 4. Things like that. Maybe here's the data flow for the process, 5. You got to break them into manageable, digestible chunks that will not overwhelm you, you know, so you can stay as focused as possible as you do that. Okay, so I would say break stuff down. Okay, break stuff down. That is going to help you. That will really help you. What else? And like I said, practice makes perfect. So like the PMP exam, I know a lot of folks that have had to spend more time taking their mock exams as a run up to taking the real exam, like maybe spending 8 hours on the mock instead. And if that's you, if there's a special consideration to take a mock exam for a much longer duration, we have helped students in the past do paper-based exams for the mock exam, that is, and much longer times, much longer durations. So we take this very seriously as well. We want to help you as much as we can. Okay. In closing, I would say check the link I'm going to share with you below about help you can get for this. A lot of these tips are from illinois.edu. They have a page where they give you advice about strategies if you've got ADHD, and a lot of these strategies are actually from there. I would recommend going to that page and reading up some more. And in closing, I would just say frequent use of lists, color coding, use of routines and rituals, reminders, programs, computerized programs that help you, okay? Rituals, routine, reminders. Those are big. Rituals, routines, and reminders. Stick to your daily plan and find a study buddy. I really, truly believe that can help. And looking for help from family who are there to support you. You need that support team, okay? So I hope what I've shared has helped you. It is dark, as you can see, and I probably should get off here. If you have been struggling on your own, trying to do this stuff all alone, don't forget that we have the pmsucceed.com. It's an 8-week boot camp. 1 hour every weekend. We have mentoring, coaching. If you got at the questions, we can advise you on what the answers are. We can go through that with you. And it's an all-round good support structure for anyone who needs additional support. But you have to work and come prepared. That's the thing. You have to study and come prepared, and then everything begins to get woven together a lot better. But I hope this has helped you, and don't forget to take the test that I talked about to see if you are indeed someone who has this condition, and if it would make sense for you to get medical help. And then when you get a medical diagnosis of the whole thing, the PMI can further help you by giving you additional time on the exam. All right? Really wish you all the best. Don't forget, go to www.pmsucceed.com and sign up for that training, that 8-week course. Take care, and bye for now.